My name is Arya Stark. I want you to know that. The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
There's a law in this story, older than every throne, every war, every god anyone prays to. If you're going to take a life, you look them in the eye, you tell them why, and you swing the blade yourself. What Arya does in this scene is not a taunt. It's not a dramatic reveal before a revenge kill. It is a formal sentencing under the oldest legal code in the North. And almost nobody caught it. Everyone remembers this as Arya's revenge. The girl who lost everything finally getting her kill. But what if the reason she says her name, the real reason, has nothing to do with revenge at all? What if she's not breaking the Faceless Men's rules? What if she's following her father's?
The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword.
That line lands in the first 10 minutes of the entire series. Ned says it to a young Bran right after executing a Night's Watch deserter. And most people file it away as a nice piece of fatherly wisdom. A character moment. Ned being Ned. But it's not advice. It's law. It predates the Andals. It predates the faith of the Seven. This is First Men doctrine, the foundational legal code of the North, carved into the culture by men who wore crowns of bronze and iron shaped like swords. And the rule is absolute. If you condemn someone to die, you do not delegate the killing. You face them, you tell them why, and you carry the weight of ending their life yourself. Now look at Arya's words again. She identifies herself.
My name is Arya Stark. I want you to know that.
She states the crime, the Red Wedding, the murder of her mother and brother. She demands he look at her, and then she executes him, personally, with her own blade. That's not vengeance, that's a sentencing. Ned wasn't making small talk. He was warning his son about a specific kind of moral rot. The kind that happens when you let someone else carry the weight of your decisions. And the Faceless Men, strip away the mysticism, strip away the religion, are exactly what Ned despised. They are paid executioners. Beautiful, ancient, theologically sophisticated paid executioners. But paid executioners. The entire theology of the House of Black and White is built on erasure. You are no one. You kill without emotion, without identity, without personal stake. Death is a gift from the many-faced God, not a judgment passed by a human being with a name. To assassinate Walder Frey anonymously, wearing a servant's face, letting the poison do the work, that would have been a perfect Faceless Man kill. Clean, untraceable, theologically correct. But it would have been a betrayal of everything Ned Stark stood for. By taking off the face, by saying her name, by looking Walder Frey directly in the eyes and telling him exactly who she is and exactly why he's dying. Arya doesn't just reject the Faceless Men. She chooses Ned. If that just reframed everything you thought this scene was about, that's exactly the moment people hit like. Not because I asked, but because something shifted. Hi, I'm Nick. You're watching Cynic Cults, and we're just getting started. Because here's where it gets worse. Arya didn't just follow Ned's law. She followed it in a way Ned would have found horrifying. Go back to what she actually says. Not just her name, the other part.
The last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
Most people hear that and think, cool line, badass moment, victory lap for the Starks. But in the deep history of this world, a smiling Stark is not a victory. It's an omen. The Starks everyone loves, the Ned Starks, the quiet, honorable, somber Starks, are a recent version. The original Starks were the kings of winter, and they were not honorable men. They wore crowns of iron and bronze shaped like swords. They drove the giants from the north. They exterminated rival houses. They subjugated the Skin Changers through sheer, bloody force. No protectors, no guardians, apex predators. And in the books, when Ned dreams of the crypts, the Kings of Winter watch him pass with eyes of ice. There's even a saying in the North that it grows so cold, a man's laughter freezes in his throat and chokes him to death. Martin raps the Starks in the same language he uses for the White Walkers, cold that doesn't belong to the weather. Starks do not smile. Starks are somber. And when the Ancient Ones did smile, it meant something was about to end. Look at Arya's face in that moment. That is not relief. That is not even satisfaction. That is joy. And that is the face of the Kings of Winter. The tragedy isn't that Arya killed Walder Frey. It's that to follow her father's law, to look him in the eye, to swing the sword, she had to become something her father spent his entire life trying not to be. And she didn't stop with the blade. When Arya feeds Walder Frey his own sons baked into a pie, it feels like something uniquely psychotic, a teenager's darkest improvisation, the most disturbing thing this show ever put on screen. It's not improvisation. That method of execution is thousands of years old, and Arya knew it. Old Nan told this story to the Stark children. The rat cook, a chef at the Night Fort who butchered a king's son, baked him into a pie with bacon, onions, and mushrooms, and served it to the king. The king ate 2 helpings, praised the taste, never knew. But here's the part everyone misses about that legend. The gods didn't curse the rat cook for murder. They didn't curse him for cannibalism. They cursed him because he killed a guest under his own roof. He broke guest right.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Walder Frey committed the most famous violation of guest right in the history of Westeros. Robb and Catelyn Stark, murdered at a feast under his roof after eating his bread and salt. The sacred contract shattered. So when Arya bakes his sons into a pie and serves them to him, she's not inventing a punishment. She's invoking one. The rat cook's curse. The exact divine sentence the gods ordained for men who break guest right. She's not just a Stark passing a sentence. She's the instrument of something older than the Starks, the old gods speaking through her. But there's one more layer, and it might be the darkest. Think about what Arya has been doing for weeks before this moment. She didn't walk into the twins 5 minutes before the kill. She infiltrated. She murdered a servant girl, harvested her face, and lived inside that girl's identity, cooking, serving, sleeping among the Freys for weeks. Long enough to learn the routines, earn trust, and get close enough to serve Walder Frey his final meal. The show treats the Faceless Men's magic like a costume change. Put on a face, take it off. Simple. The books tell a very different story. In the text, putting on a face is a blood ritual. The dried skin of the dead is pressed against the wearer's face. Blood is drawn, the wearer's own blood. It soaks into the leather, softening it, fusing it to their flesh. And the moment it bonds, the wearer is flooded with the dead person's memories, their pain, their trauma, fragments of who they were. For weeks, Arya has been living inside a dead girl's skin, absorbing her memories, speaking in her voice, feeling echoes of her life. This is the same dark magic that later allows her to impersonate Walder Frey himself, wearing his face to poison every Frey man at a second feast. But that absorption has a cost. The longer you wear the face, the more the dead person's identity bleeds into yours. You start losing track of who you are. And that is the final reason she had to say her name.
My name is Arya Stark.
Is not just a sentencing. It's not just Ned's law. It's a psychological anchor against the blood magic dissolving her identity from the inside. She has spent weeks submerged in someone else's life, someone else's memories, someone else's face. And in the moment before the kill, the moment that matters most, she grabs onto the one thing the magic cannot erase. Her name. Her father's name. The name she refused to give up in the House of Black and White. The name that made the waif hate her. The name Jaqen told her to abandon. She says it because if she doesn't, she might not remember it. That is what this scene actually is. Not a revenge kill, not a one-liner. A girl pulling herself back from the edge of magical erasure by speaking the only truth she has left. Arya Stark stands over a dead man. She has followed her father's law, looked him in the eye, told him why, swung the sword herself. She has channeled the kings of winter, smiled while she did it. She has invoked the rat cook, fed him his sons in a pie, and she has survived the blood magic, anchored herself by speaking her own name, every version of Stark justice, the legal code, the ancient darkness, the divine curse, the personal survival, all of it compressed into one sentence. My name is Arya Stark. But the girl who wept for Micah the butcher's boy, the girl who named a sword after the needlework she was never good enough at, that girl is gone. What stands in her place follows every law of her house. And that might be the most terrifying thing about the Starks. Their laws were never gentle. So here's what I want to know. When Arya says her name to Walder Frey, is she honoring Ned Stark? Or has she twisted Ned's most noble teaching into a weapon he would never recognize? Is she the just executioner her father raised? Or the cold, smiling king of winter he spent his entire life trying not to become? Drop that in the comments. I want to hear where you land. This is the part where most channels beg you to subscribe. I'm not going to do that. But if this video made you see this scene differently, not as revenge, not as a cool moment, but as something more honest than both, then you already think like we do here. We're building an empire of people who watch a scene once for the story and 10 times for the truth. And if you're still here, you're already one of us. You know what to do. Arya followed Faceless Men's skills and magic to kill Walder Frey. But before learning that magic, she stood 3 feet from the man who destroyed her family, poured his wine, heard his war plans, gripped a knife, and he never once saw the wolf in the room. That video, Why Tywin Lannister Never Arrested Arya Stark, is right here. See you there. Until then, stay cult.